Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration. For real. We're here at Capitol Grill in downtown Minneapolis. My guest today is Marney Gellner. She is a Fox Sports North broadcaster and so many accolades. But first I want to say hi, and then we'll get into those, Marney. Welcome, and it's just so fun to have you here.
Thank you for having me. A, just in general, because I'm thrilled to be included in part of this very distinguished list. B, at my single favorite restaurant.
Oh my gosh, Diane will be so happy to hear you say that.
Well, I think Diane knows that. And I'm not kidding you, and I'm not pumping up Capitol Grill. They don't sponsor me yet. The best steak, and I love steak, but my single favorite menu item in all of the restaurants that I've ever been to is the Capitol Grill lobster mac and cheese.
Wow.
Have you had it?
I have had it, and it is an experience.
Yeah. And I'm not a mac and cheese person by nature. I don't like the stickiness of it. But this one's not sticky. It's cheesy without having the stick.
It's gourmet.
And yeah, and it's got huge chunks of crab. And then the breadcrumbs on top. Yes.
All right. So usually I ask this next question toward the end, but because you're already talking food, I have to say we're in Capitol Grill. It is one of my favorite restaurants. I do a lot of things here. They are a sponsor of this podcast, so I got to give them a plug. But if you could be a spirit, a wine, a drink, a cocktail, what would Marney Gellner be?
Oh, jeez. I would be something very simple and plain, but just good. Peanut butter sandwich.
In a drink?
Water, no ice.
Water, no ice. Really?
I have sensitive teeth, and I notice I haven't taken a sip of this yet because I'm trying to let it warm up. My water.
So your cocktails, if you have them, don't have a lot of ice in them.
If I have a straw.
Okay.
That's fine. If I'm having a cocktail, I mean, you have to have a cold cocktail.
Yeah,
but like
you do.
water, I always order with no ice. And I have two kids. They're 11 and 9. And my son, like one of their words now that the kids use is noise. Have you heard? It's the word nice, but you say it Noice. So be like, oh, I had home run today. Oh, noise. So when we go to a restaurant and I order from the waiter, because I do like water, I drink it a lot. Hey, what would you like to drink? Of a water, noise. And the waiter will be like, noise? And I'll say, noise. And then my 11-year-old's like, because he can hear us saying noise, noise, no ice, no ice.
That is just part of your world.
That's my world.
The other part of your world is what you do as a Fox Sports North broadcaster. You've been the voice of the Minnesota Lynx for many, many seasons. The second woman to do play-by-play for 2 Timberwolves games on FSN in December of 2018, February 2019. And this biggie in 2019, the first woman to do play-by-play for a Minnesota Twins broadcast. What was that like?
It was the most enjoyable work trip, and I travel a lot for work, but it was the single most enjoyable work trip I've ever had in my entire career.
That's amazing.
Because
Tell people where you were.
I was in Fort Myers, Florida, and it was Twins spring training in March. And there are several factors that went into it being so enjoyable, and one was that my family was there, my husband and 2 kids, because we were there for 5 days, and I called 3 games in those 5 days. And
Noise.
Would
Would your kids say that was the right
yes,
use of it?
You dropped it in there perfectly.
Thank you.
Noise. And we went on February 27th or 8th, something like that. And remember what the weather was like at that time. And then you get dropped into Fort Myers, Florida, and it's sunny and 80 degrees.
Heaven.
And then you're around baseball and those sounds and just the feel and the smell of the grass. And no team there has lost any games yet. And everybody's optimistic. So it was like being dropped into this euphoria of just...
Not to mention your mom
world.
cred went way up with those 2 sons of yours.
One's a girl.
One's a girl, sorry, with the kids.
Yeah, you know what? They're totally unfazed.
Really?
I've done this their entire lives.
This is just old hat.
Yeah, I mean, they get it that it's different and that...
Special.
Yeah, we really downplay it. They don't really have any idea, but they liked that trip. We went to the beach. We collected seashells. We went to 2 games. Whatever. But work experience wise, it was awesome. I was thrilled. My all 3 games I worked with Dan Gladden, whom Twins fans are very familiar with. A World Series hero.
That's my favorite part of the story because I'm a fan of his, and you can't be a Minnesotan without having some, love of him in some way for baseball. And, but here's the thing. You have established yourself. You've been a broadcaster for a long time. And a long time. And you get these questions, Marnie, about being the first woman this, the second woman that. But you say, look, I'm a broadcaster. We don't need to put that word woman in front. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I agree with you, but you are a trailblazer, which is sad that you have to be a trailblazer in 2019.
Yeah. I don't ever think about it until somebody says it. Somebody asks me about it. Somebody points it out, like you just did. But I'm very, very proud. I don't ever brush it aside like it means nothing. I'm very, very proud. But sometimes I'm shocked. Like you mentioned the NBA. So what we found out, we did not know prior to doing it, but that the 2 games that I called, I was the second female in the NBA, not just Timberwolves, the NBA to call regular season games. And that one shocked me. I thought, how is it 2019? And in the last woman, the only other woman who called, she called 2 games in, I think, 88. How did we get here?
Right.
I mean, that one blew me away. Not because I'm like, oh, look at me, but more like, how am I the second? How has no one done this for 30 years? So that one caught me off guard. The Twins thing, I mean, it's because that is a team I grew up with. They've been in existence since forever, where the Timberwolves only came in the
late 80s.
When I was in high school. Yep, 89, 90. So the Twins one it was really special, and I just looked at it like, I've never called a Twins game. I didn't say, no woman has ever called a Twins game. I was just like, I've never done this.
This is a great
so much fun.
First thing for you in your broadcast career.
Yes, that's how I looked at it.
Right.
I think it's really cool that I was the first woman to call a Twins game, but that's not the bullet for me.
Right.
It was more like, those were my first games and I loved it and I want to do it again.
One of my favorite parts of that story, Marney Gellner, is that there was speculation, not even as much about who was going to win that game, but what your home run call was going to be. And I want you to explain, for if there are non-baseball fans out there, I want you to explain what that even means, and then the call you came up with, which I think is pretty fun.
Well, a home run call would be just like if you kind of have this phrase that you go to every time someone hits a home run. Someone on your team.
Not the other team.
Not the other team, but that's an important part of it. So I kind of felt it out. My thought was, I'm doing 3 games. I'm not just popping in for a quickie and pop it out. I'm doing 3 games. And I kind of wanted to put my stamp on it. So I kind of took a temperature of like, first of all, my family, like, my husband and maybe a brother or whoever happened to be in the room. Do you think I can have a home run call? Or was that the thing I didn't want to be was obnoxious? Like, this isn't about you. I was very conscious of that. And they were all like, go for it. Yeah, go for it. It's spring training.
I love your little focus group ahead of time. That's cool.
Well, then I moved out a couple of coworkers, and then I put it on Twitter. And I just said, could I have a home run call? I'm doing these 3 Twins games.
Oh, so you asked
no?
Twitterverse.
I put it out on Twitter the day I landed in Fort Myers, and the games were going to be starting the next day. And it was like 95% yes, 5% no. And so I thought, I'm going to do this. So, and I had thought about it a lot. I wanted it to be specific to me because that was me putting my stamp on it.
That's the point, though, too.
So I thought of Better Call Mama because in my world, I am a mom. And I am very close to my mom. And when something happens in my life, and it doesn't even have to be the biggest thing. It could be like, I found $1 on the floor. The person I call is my mom. But I also thought through to the point where, well, not everybody has a mom still or ever, or, I wanted to be sensitive to that. So my thought was...
You really thought about this.
I thought a lot about it. That mama represents whoever, your best friend, your grandfather, your brother, your mother, whoever that person is, your person. So if somebody was going to hit a home run, I was just going to say, better call mama. And I said it out loud to myself in the car, in my
Tested it
mirror. Oh, yeah. How was I going to inflect it? And then I did the first 2 Twins games. And the home run, there was a home run in each game, actually 2 in the one game, hit in the middle innings where Dan Gladden does play-by-play. Totally ruined it. No. So I would do innings 1, 2, and 3. He would do 4, 5, 6. I do 7, 8, 9. That's how the Twins lay it out. That's how they even do it in the regular season. Corey Provis is their regular season broadcaster.
You're not there to try to shake it up.
I'm not going to shake it up. And Danny Gladden does play-by-play in those middle innings. So first 2 games, 3 Twins home runs, they all come when Dan Gladden is doing play-by-play. So we kind of rally before the final game. And Danny says, if there's a home run in the middle innings when I'm calling play-by-play, I'm just going to stop. You jump in, you take it.
Nice.
Because he knew I had a call.
And you were excited to use it.
Now it's built up. Now it's overhyped. Now everyone's going to be disappointed.
I love the choreography that goes on behind the scenes.
Well, we had to at that point. It was desperation.
It was
my last
desperation.
game. So it was like, if a Twins player hits one here, well, it happened early when I was calling it. It was CJ Crone. He hit a home run. I was so excited, and I was trying to be calm. And I used my home run call. Well, his next at bat hits another home run. I screwed up the call. I said something like, call your mama. Screwed up my own call.
Does that still make it a call then?
I don't know. So then there was a third one in the 9th inning by a minor league player. So I got to call 3 home runs.
Great. And you got that one right.
I got that one right. And people were asking me afterwards, well, what was it? What was the call? Because you said 2 different things. I'm like, I know.
Well, hopefully now it can be hashtag.
Well, there's a T-shirt.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I need to get the T-shirt.
Soda Stick is a local
Yes, I know
company,
Soda Stick.
SOTA, like for Minnesota. By the time my flight landed back in Minneapolis, the night of the game, there was a prototype of a T-shirt on their website. I have nothing to do with it. I do not get any profits.
They do not sponsor you.
No, but they sent me some T-shirts. And I have some Better Call Mama T-shirts.
All right, I need to get one of those T-shirts.
I'll see what I can do. I know some people.
Awesome. Yes, you do. Wow. That's what I think is so fun too, is you're doing your job and everyone thinks, oh, that's just so easy. I could do it. It is not true. Like, you have to prepare. You have to know how to pronounce names, which isn't always easy. You have to have stats just at the ready. Give people a little bit of insight into your preparation for game day, regardless of the game.
It's not just that day. It starts in advance, and really it helps to just follow a team along the way. Now, I jumped in to do play-by-play in those cases, but both cases were teams that I follow on the regular. So it's not like I had to say, well, are they winning? What's their record? I knew all of that. It's more the details of, say if it's basketball, like what's his average been in the last 5 games? Is he on a little bit of a dip? Or, if I know his scoring is up, I need to know, how much is his scoring up?
Details.
5.2 points per game. Exactly. So it's knowing those details, and then it's the other team. It's being completely up to speed on the other team.
Which, frankly, do you really care? But you got to be up to speed.
Yeah,
you do have to care.
I don't care as much as I do about our team, but it's important to know their storylines so that when this guy goes off, you can say that's what he's been doing, or this came out of nowhere, or this is something the Timberwolves talked about at shoot around this morning.
What would surprise fans about what goes on with you play-by-play and color commentators up there?
Probably the commercial breaks, probably how much, or even that we might hit the mute button, during the broadcast and be like, that was a terrible call.
You have to be careful you don't swear, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's a biggie.
Yeah. Any person can punch a button at any time.
Right.
And I learned long ago in local television, like if you're wearing a mic or holding a mic, do not swear. Even if you're across the street and you're just getting set up.
Exactly. You just never know when it can be hot.
Take the chance.
Yeah.
And now today's day with social media, today's technology and stuff, it could get out there and it could live forever.
Rolling on you anywhere.
Yes. Yeah. Just don't bleep and swear.
It's hard because, myself growing up in newsrooms, being a reporter in my past life, there's a lot of swearing that happens in newsrooms. And I have to admit, I perpetrated some of that, and it rolls into my life to the point where my husband kind of has to call me to task. I'm like, I don't know that we need to be swearing so much. He hardly swears, and I do.
You're not wearing a mic at home,
right?
So who cares?
When there's no mic, I'm good. But you are absolutely conditioned to it. If there's a mic anywhere within an inch, really, I mean, anywhere, like even
it's
bigger,
a good rule to live by.
It's a good rule. Yeah, it's a good rule. I mean, no swearing is a better rule, but that's just not going to happen for many of us. Okay, let's talk about your future. And the future of others who watch you, who are inspired by you. What is your advice to young boys and girls out there?
Well, my advice to people wanting to get in the business, because I get asked a lot about that, because people see my job and they're like, oh, I want your job. You have a cool job. And I do. I have a cool job. But a lot of times when people say that, it's like 4th of July weekend, and I'm working a Twins game, and there's these guys in the stands with their beers. They're like, oh, Marty, you have the best job. And I think, I'm also sweating through my suit right now because I'm working on the 4th of July.
And you're totally sober.
While you sit there with your beer. And so the thing that I tell people who want to get into the business is you have to be really ready for the reality of working nights, weekends, holidays.
There's no bonus pay at the end of the year, by the way.
Also that. But people don't put any thought into the fact that when do games happen in my world.
It's when everyone else is having fun, right? It's when everyone else is having fun.
There's a newscast on Thanksgiving. There's a newscast, maybe multiple, on Christmas.
Breaking news events in sports and in other arenas don't really wait for the Monday through Friday 9 to 5 work week.
No, as a matter of fact, they go specifically opposite.
Yes, when everyone else is having fun.
Yeah. And so that's a reality that some people think no big deal, and then you do it, and you spend a year watching your friends go to the lake and missing a family reunion and someone's wedding and, all these things, because that's what I did and still do.
Exactly.
I mean, I miss a lot of stuff.
And you're balancing that with being a mom, being a wife,
Right.
having friends, having a social life. It is possible, but you have to be open to the reality.
You absolutely do, because there are wonderful benefits that come with this job, but there are some sacrifices. And the pay is not great, especially at the lower levels, and people think it's a glamorous job. And there are parts of it that seem a little glamorous, but for the most part, I just try to get people into reality. Look, the hours stink. The pay for a long time stinks.
And sometimes it's hours before you can go to the bathroom.
Well, there's that.
I mean, there's that. I mean, I'm just thinking of when I was on surveillance in the past, and you just kind of have to stay in that van.
I mean, it seems glamorous when you catch the perp. But
Marnie, the best advice I got from a photographer was, when there's a building, use the bathroom. Where there's a building, even if you don't think you have to go, use the bathroom. Some of the best advice I've ever received. Get ahead of it.
Okay. That's what I tell my kids all the time. It's like, when we leave the house, do you have to go to the bathroom? No. But go anyway, because we're getting in the car.
Just try.
For 3 hours.
It may come for you. So I
heard it.
I know you heard it
first.
here. All right. Here's what I want to know. You've interviewed so many people. You've been to so many places. You've had exceptional experiences that some people would just pay a lot of great money for. Who do you still want to interview? Like, what would be the big get?
For me, athlete-wise, almost no one, because athletes don't do much for me. I don't mean that
You heard that here, folks.
As soon as it came out of my mouth, I thought I meant in the way that I'm not intimidated or.
I get it.
I've interviewed a lot of athletes, and I have
it's part of your
incredible
world.
respect and admiration. But for me, it's like musicians or actors or people in that nature. Athlete, my favorite all-time athlete is Mary Lou Retton. I used to ask the kids on the playground in Minot in grade school to call me Marney Lou. And it did not catch on. So if I ever got to talk to Mary Lou Retton, that would be awesome, because I had the Wheaties box in her book, and growing up, like she's my all-time favorite athlete. And otherwise, the actors that I love funny female, like a Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Oh my, like any of those people.
Hilarious.
I would be so, I'd pass out probably. I would be very nervous and intimidated, and I would be like, can we be best friends? Where are we having lunch?
Better call mama.
I would be calling my mama. Noise.
I love it. Well, what I love to hear is that there are those people for you.
Oh,
that
yes.
Still
but not
would be
really
amazing.
in the athletic
Yes.
world.
Yes. My last interview as a TV reporter in news was in Detroit for the NBC station, and it was Patti LaBelle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we were like this close from her like 12-inch eyelashes. I wasn't intimidated, but that was like the closest to being, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's what I got to end my TV reporting career with, which
That's
was
a mic drop end.
I mean, it was.
I mean, she's a
superstar. Right. So
Nice.
it's been so fun talking with you. Thanks for being with us. If you had a theme song, Marney Gellner, what would it be?
Jeez, you're a deep thinker. Well, I have a theme song for an intro that I do with a regular old spot on a sports talk show, and it's Boondocks by Little Big Town, because the words are, I feel no shame, I'm proud of where I came from, I was born and raised in the Boondocks. And again, Boondocks doesn't mean, it's not a negative connotation, it doesn't mean backwoods, it means like good earth, down home. And I just feel like that's me. I'm born and raised in North Dakota. I live 30 minutes out of downtown Minneapolis because I'm not really a city girl, and I just love the open space and the people, and just, you know, that's me, where I was born and raised, and that's who I am. I have this great job, and sometimes it's a little glitzy, but that's really not who I am.
Well, that's why your fans love you. Down, real, and lots of fun.
Oh,
Noise.
thank you.
Marney Gellner.
Very nice.
Noise. Thank you so much for being with me here on Real Leaders with Roshini.
You're welcome. I'm very honored that you asked me. This has been an enjoyable chat, so thank you.
Well, thank you. Until next time, keep it real.